This is very distressing to me because I don't know if this is going to be the next shift that I go in and I get the virus.
We put ourselves on the front line willingly. After watching for years, the city turned its backs on us. Many of you today don't look like who were here yesterday. But I know you have a grievance. Because I saw it in your faces when you put yourselves in front of us to protect us. And I thank you. That's poetry. And that's love.
I thought it was really important that we were really excited that the museum was able to take, the pieces in and preserve, because, hundreds of years from now, people can, experience it. And, so it was really important that, we make sure everything was, or like, I felt great or felt good about where the artwork was going. And, some of it's here, some of it's at IRC. And
what a lot of people don't know is the fact that following the artwork being done, it was months and months of making sure that we preserved it in a way where we had people offering money. We're like, we didn't do this for money. People tried to name the event, it wasn't about a name. You've experienced that in this whole process, and it took months of us making sure that it went to a place that's not going to sell the artwork. The artist had the choice of what to do with the artwork.
Good evening, I'm Rodney Dawson, Curator of Education at the Greensboro History Museum, and I have some special guests here excited about a very special webinar that we're going to introduce tonight. It's almost a year later, and it's reflections on Pieces of Now. So what you see assembled are a lot of the folks that participated in Pieces of Now in some way, whether they were protest organizers or visual artists, and we just thought it important to speak to them at this moment. We know at the time of this filming, about a week ago, we had the verdict in the George Floyd case, and this was all prompted or initiated after the killing of George Floyd at the hands of Derek Chauvin. And so we're going to talk about not so much your artwork, although we can include that, but really how are you feeling? What did you do when you heard it? How are you going to continue the work? So I have a few questions I'm going to ask you, but I just appreciate you spending some time tonight so we can talk to Greensboro about what we plan to do, what we've done, and just basically how we feel. After learning of the death of the killing of George Floyd, what was at the hands of the police in Minneapolis, what was your immediate reaction?
They're so wrong. They're so dirty. First thing to say about black and browns, we all are bad. We criminals. Especially a young black man like me and AJ with dreads, we already labeled. Seeing what he done to a man for supposed to be a counterfeit $20 bill, they're abusing their job. They're abusing the laws they're supposed to go by. I mean, where is that you go in and question this man about what he done? Instead of going, you tell us to be calm, why don't you be calm? So my reaction to it is that they're wrong. I mean, there's no accountability, and I know you keep hearing me say accountability. Be accountable for your actions. You ask me to be accountable for my actions. We need the law enforcement to be accountable for their actions. You tell us to be calm, won't you be calm? Assessing the situation. Assess George Floyd and whoever's in this car.
Becca, what about you? First off, what were you doing?
When I found out I was as isolated as I could be at that point, it was it's always strange to talk about that juxtaposition of, I felt like I had the choice to be isolated. I was furloughed from work and I had a lot of artwork I wanted to do. I lived by myself, so I
did everything I could to be completely isolated. So then when hearing about that news and then everything as it progressed, it was the first time I really grappled with going out into public at all. My anxiety, even talking about it right now kind of makes my anxiety, like I remember what it felt like to be like sitting there in my apartment being like, I can walk downtown right now and just start doing something to help to lift voices with mine. And then the art started, so that felt like a huge release and something that I could do because I didn't know where to start. I really grappled too with just like how my privilege as even just a mixed race Hispanic person correlates to, you know, I think about other people in my family and then I think about the different experience that I can never understand. And it really brought all that up to the surface. I can say I dealt with a lot of microaggressions, but not much more. So I can only imagine what it feels like to go beyond that. And it just felt like I needed to do something. So I was so grateful to be able to go downtown and just try to create something visual that said, we're here, we're standing with you, we're gonna be out here every day with you. As long as it takes, and that's what we did. And then it all kind of started rolling from there, which is really awesome to see.
Was it important for you to see someone that was not African American and extend that sense of belonging or accept them?
I mean, yeah, because it states to us that they saying enough is enough. We need to say enough is enough. You know, if they speak up and say, man, enough is enough, that means America should know is enough is enough.
Was it in, go ahead.
I was just gonna add to that, and I think because we were together, it's safe to say that it wasn't only the sense of belonging that was important. It was one of those moments where you kind of just looked around and realized that we all fit the description. And that was actually a very consistent conversation that we kept having on the front lines to have it shot back to the back. Because they weren't just on the front with us, they were also on our back. They would not move. And I'm saying they to respect their pronouns. But it wasn't, you know, just LGBTQ. It was us. It was Caucasian, it was Asian, it was Hispanic. Anybody who could relate.
Young, old.
Young, the elderly really,
yeah.
You know, who we must pay, we look over them so much, but really they walk 11 hours.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like the old saints used to. Like, I mean, in prayer the entire time, like grandma used to. So it wasn't that it wasn't like just a sense of belonging, but like literally it became imperative that if we did not do it this way, not only will we not be safe.
Yeah, exactly.
Because the conversation then expands to, well, when you look around, your frontline people are non-ethnic people. And we know you're not gonna hurt your kids. You might be upset, and that was another conversation that people were getting disowned. People were not allowed back in their homes. People were put out. People were doxxed. People were put out in media. Shared. KKK were coming to people's homes. You know, we had people throwing the rock and hiding the hand, pretending to be supporters, but they weren't. Going out and bashing us to have to be checked. And you know what they're called is white swarm.
Yeah.
And they are an anonymous group in our city. In our state, actually, because they don't just do Greensboro, they do Fayetteville, Graham, Charlotte, anywhere the need is necessary to be met. And they willfully put white bodies on the front. And it's not even about a black or white issue, it's just simply that we're fighting for our right of culture. And being gay, black, white, straight, bi, whatever you want to call it, is still a right to culture. And we all know that excellence, like culture, like technique, style, and flair would not exist without blackness. Right. And so if we can't have that conversation, then what are we doing this for?
But I wanted to speak to the point of just the unity. We're talking about belonging, but in that moment on May 30th and May 31st, standing in that moment, it was kind of like, I would get the metaphor of just living in a dark world. You know, it was like the light bulb just clicked on. And it was like we had all of these different cultures and different types of people. We had humans that looked different, but we were unified in our concept and while we were there. And we couldn't see it until we just shined the light within the darkness of the world. And while you're standing in that moment, you get to see, well, they don't look like me or they're not from where I'm from. They don't have the same background. But the unity is what brought us together because it was really hard to see color when we saw it was not even about color, it was an issue with the heart.
Yeah.
And how
Yeah.
people love and how people accept and
Yeah.
how people can live together. Because I feel like we're not on the earth to live alone.
Yeah.
Right.
And sometimes we pick and choose who we want within our circles, but I was just blessed to have people that were not from the same walk of life
Right.
to understand, hey, I can be on your side, I can play on your team, and there is a spot on my team for you. So that was it was such a good energy, I feel.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, well said.
All of you touched on the energy that was downtown during that time. I was shocked that when I went down to feel the energy and that was going on, and I have to definitely thank Jen and Jana for, like, when I walked down to paint, like the energy that was happening on the streets, that I couldn't believe. I really just couldn't believe that energy.
I think it was just a spark in it.
No,
Or
it
like
was,
wildfire.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, the great things.
We were running on adrenaline, like, yeah, you want to
always
paint?
happen
Go.
with the spark. You know? But the great things just happen with just a little thing, just a little push, you know. And so yeah, I do appreciate that, and it changed the way, it changed my life in a lot of ways. So
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Can I
Yeah, please.
Can I touch on the energy? Because I think you were downtown. I'm sorry. I think you were downtown protesting.
You talking to me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Oh.
While I was painting, so we talked about it being multiple races of people downtown that were painting at the time. And for me, as I'm painting my piece with so many different people, so many walks of life, I think it was you who were.
No, it was me. I remember what you're talking about.
Protesting. And I could hear you on the
bullhorn.
Yes, protesting at the same time. And I mean, that energy that I felt from the community, plus hearing the protest and what you were saying, it was just it was exciting, it was exhilarating, you know, even with the situation being what it was, the sense of community and purpose and coming together and hearing what you were saying.
Yeah.
I mean, the message will be with me for the rest of my life.
Real talk.
I mean, it was a blessing
Real talk.
to just absorb that in a time when I needed spiritual uplifting. That was one of the best feelings that I've ever experienced.
For me, it's completely the opposite. I don't want anyone viewing this or seeing this magnanimous, if that's what I'm word, like, you know, this grand display of unity as a Band-Aid.
Yeah.
Okay. To even sit in this room, to have these murals up on this wall was still a battle of choice versus knowledge. Black artists are taken advantage of. In this city, during this protest, Black artists was being taken advantage of. And so when it came to having this exhibit, even one of the things I remember telling Mr. Rodney was like, you know, this is a magnificent thing. And you know, the irony of it all is that we have all this diversity coming for this one thing. But are you aware? You remember Mr. Rose, like, are you aware that actually a lot of these murals were done with people of color? As a muralist myself, who came and painted the very next day after being on the front lines between riot gear and peaceful protesters getting shot with rubber bullets that allegedly never flew to this day. Tear gas for things that we did not do and we have on video that we did not release purposely, because I'm not gonna do this to the city. I'm gonna show you what I can do. I thought it was beautiful that we chose color as artists. I thought it was Gina, thank you, because really, when you did black and white, I said black the whole city out, you know, like I was like, I choose violence, but it was like, no, actually, because this is who we are. When we looked around and realized that 90% of the people involved in the protest on Saturday were artists, community members, business owners of the city, protecting their city, it became like almost like a understanding. And I think that's the energy that drew me back out with Brandon on Sunday, because we were coming to help clean up just to see, because we were there the entire night, Saturday night. And that's why I think for me, my energy is a little different, because I was there both days. I came and met AJ at noon. We didn't leave at 2 a.m. to come back about right before noon, Sunday, and then leave again until almost 2 a.m.
Yeah.
So it's like, we're talking about two different energies that coexist at the same time, but imagine being wedged between the two and having not to choose violence.
So what happened was all this energy that people felt was there. When I went out there, I remember it was maybe 25 people out there when we first got in front of Woolworth. And we had planned on staying on the sidewalk. But that same energy from being inside and listening, the whole time I was inside, I was studying. I was listening. Now imagine if I hadn't been. Would that energy have been the same that you heard when we was walking down the street? I told people, man, I saw God in person for the first time during these protests.
Yeah.
You imagine 1,000 people of every different type walking behind you.
Yeah.
What do you think you're looking at?
Yeah. God.
What you think you're looking at? You're looking at God's people. We are images of that, of the Most High.
Yeah. Amen.
And so I don't want it, but that's what that energy is. It ain't about me not wanting to. It's mandatory that I talk about.
Recognize Him.
That's why I'm here.
All praise goes to Him.
That's the only reason why I got this platform. It's about the energy that God has put here for us to change all people. We are all slaves.
Yeah.
Understand this. Every single one of us, white, black, Asian, I don't care what color you are.
Yeah.
Because we've all been enslaved to this, to the mindset that has been given to us by society.
Amen.
So when she said Greensboro, no, it's not Greensboro, baby. It's the globe.
Yeah.
It's the nation. When I go and travel now, I'm on all-inclusive resorts as a young black man. How do you think they look at me?
Yeah.
But it ain't me that's enslaved. I'm free.
Yeah.
Y'all are enslaved because you don't even have the time to have a conversation with me that can maybe change your perspective or open your heart up or open your mind up. So that energy that people felt was nothing but God.
Yes. Yes.
So that awakening is nothing but the continuation of that energy.
Yeah.
You don't gotta believe in Jesus Christ. You don't gotta believe in Prophet Muhammad. You don't gotta believe in none of that. But if I look you in your eyes right now, I know your heart is beating.
Yeah.
I know it's blood flowing through you right now. The same blood is flowing through me.
A lot of us is enslaved to certain things.
Mm-hmm.
You know, will I do this or will I gotta tiptoe to do this? You don't have to tiptoe to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Excellence is black.
You got to be brave. And that goes for each one of us in this room.
That's right.
As I was stating earlier, you know, as I see a young black man, and the first thing we all criminals, and then they're justifying and say, well, all cops ain't bad cops, well, all cops ain't good cops.
That's right.
So all black people ain't bad people, all white people ain't bad. So if we gonna go to that battle, all this and all that, what happened on Saturday and Sunday? What was that? That was God, as He said, putting us together, showing us that unity. The people together can never be defeated. The people united can never be defeated.
Right.
How does your mom feel? Your mom, she's a school teacher, and she has this son that's out there doing the work.
Talk to him, Brand.
Here's my thing. I'm out here with Gina, my friend, and you know, it's just I never know what we're going to get into. So we're out there. My phone is dying. I want to place you in the story of where I was. My phone is
I mean,
dying.
how does your mom feel today about her son?
Oh, she feels the exact same way. But when she got to see it on the news, and I had no way to communicate with her that I'm out here downtown protesting, the fear that she felt was great then. I would say it's even greater now because we put a face with the message. And so now she's even more fearful that, you know, I'm in a museum. Everybody that comes to view the museum is not coming in support.
Right.
They're coming to scout and they're coming to see, and she's aware of that. So my mom is kind of like my eyes, and she keeps them to what's happening, and I think she's even more fearful now.
So let's be direct with the words that our parents use. They say, I'm afraid you're gonna die, and if you don't die, I'm afraid they gonna lock you up. Or I'm afraid that you gonna go, I'm afraid. So we going down Wendover, and my mom sees us coming down, there's no traffic flowing, and I go over to make sure she's all right, and I give her a hug, and I'm just giving her a hug, and I can feel her like shaking. And so I'm like, you okay? And she has an anxiety attack right there on Wendover, and like breaks down. And so automatically I was like, you know, it sent me to a place. So I mentally broke down. Like over this course of the summer, I had a mental breakdown from all of this pressure, all the people that sensationalize our mother's pains. That's what happened. That's what, you know.
What I've noticed, and it really made me sad in the past like 4 years, is that I've all of a sudden seen African American women scared. And I wasn't used to that.
Scared for their men, you mean?
Scared for men, their sons.
Yeah. My life's the same way.
And I've never seen that set of just, that fear set in, because I'm used to that, I'm used to at least there being that bravado.
That black woman attitude.
At least even if there is fear, I'm used to seeing that bravado of this,
Yeah.
But I saw in the past 4 years, I've seen some deep-seated fear. And I'm curious, am I wrong?
Truthfully, I don't think that's something that's new. I think historically, we have the idea that we're naturally aggressive and strong and, that's just what it is. We come from generations of having to watch our husbands be dragged by horses and hung from trees and our sons being murdered, and at the end of the day, you still got to pick up the pieces because 9 times out of 10, you still have kids that you have to take care of. You still have a household you have to provide for, and generation after generation after generation, we have to have a certain level of strength that people think that that just is. And with having to watch on a regular basis, black women and men constantly be murdered and nothing happens, with it, it's kind of crippling. It can be strengthening for some people, but it's very crippling to know when my dad goes out, he can be shot, murdered, killed, and nothing can be done about it. It's a constant fear that as of now just grows.
Derek Chauvin convicted on 3 counts surrounding George Floyd's murder. Give me 1 or 2 words of how you felt when you heard the verdict. Go. We'll start with AJ.
All right, so I appreciate the small steps and where we come from. So I felt frustrated, I felt accomplished, I felt anxiety from having to watch it, but I knew that there was more work to be done and that we got more stuff to do. That's how I felt.
Gene. Or Virginia for those. It's hard to do 1 or 2 words.
No, I'm working on my forgiveness.
You got 10 seconds.
And at first it was hit him with the max.
You feel me?
At first it was throw the book at him. But then it changed to, I feel sorry for this man.
Okay.
Sorry to this man.
That's what happened to me. Go ahead.
Sorry to this man.
No justice, no peace, man. We still fighting out here in the streets, man. So that's a small victory. We won a round, but we got 12 more rounds.
Talk about it.
Brandon.
After the verdict, I felt the need to just strategize. This is not the end of the race, we're still in it, but it gave us that, we could breathe again. It gave us that extra breath to say, okay, I can get back out, because this summer, will there be other cases? You see what I mean? So it just really prompted me and really compelled me to continue to move and know that we're doing the right thing.
All right, you got babies you're responsible for. Your kids. He's a teacher.
Yeah.
Give me 2 words.
I felt like it was just a stepping stone until the fear that I have for my brother, my uncles, my dad starts to dissipate just a little. It was just a stepping stone, and I hope it continues. That these cops get convicted for the murders that they are doing. So,
Marshall.
Relief, and it's based upon, made me think back to when I was at A&T in African American history class. Someone brought up, this is pre-internet, so I never looked it up back then, but a white man, I thought someone brought up that a white person has never been put to death for killing a black person in America. And when that stat hit everybody in the class like a ton of bricks, because white people have been killing us for a long time in this country. That was a long time. And so to bring that to now, to hear that was like, oh gosh, it felt.
And remember you said that, because it's going to remind me of this other point. I'm trying to squeeze in here before we get out of here. Same church now. Well, give me 1. Maybe it can't encompass every film. Give me 1.
I guess it was like a bunch of emotions at one time. You're relieved that the verdict went that way. I was anxiety ridden. I was in the car listening to it on my phone, and then I'm rushing upstairs to turn on the TV.
Yeah.
You're sad, like, you know, George Floyd was murdered. His family's dealing with this, you know, like, there's so much emotion that you can't really pinpoint just one or two.
Yeah, facts.
Gene?
Well, I was like, I hope he gets the death penalty. But then also my son, who is
Same.
yeah, and then my son, he's
Prosecutor.
my son who is biracial. You know, he's a black man. He's 20. He actually texted me, and like I could tell like how like he was, you know, and that made me feel, you know, like yeah.
What's Dante's last name?
Dante.
That was in Brooklyn.
Dante Wright.
Dante Wright. He was 20 of mixed race.
Yeah. So like it's, you know, it's just a lot. It's a lot. But I know that he did feel a sense of like, oh, you know, now we're, you know, but he definitely is still scared. I mean, he talks about, you know, getting pulled and, you know, I'm, you know, so every day he's not with me, I think about it. So.
I got a question both after.
Let me get back.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I guess everyone's echoed it. It's impossible to put two words on it, but relief was one. But that sense of relief was so sort of fleeting because it's just relief for this one case.
It was brief.
There's so many other.
It was so brief.
Yes,
You only had
yes.
3 hours.
Well, there was like a shooting like that, like.
Well, yeah, and then we've been dealing
We
with.
didn't have camera, we didn't have
Yeah.
footage where we have a conviction.
Exactly.
And if we wouldn't have protested without doing all of that, would we have done anything?
You know what I'm
Just
saying?
Shout out to Oregon, by the way. Shout out to Oregon.
Someone made the point. The only thing that changed is we got better phones.
The world that we live in is crazy. We've been dropping like flies on the daily. Yeah, you can be shot down in the street for walking around with Skittles and Arizona tea. And we shouting no justice, no peace. Come together, let's build an army. We stand on the shoulders of kings and queens. Ooh, we